What's up to our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the mother-loving geek nation? You're currently tuning into the CultPop Can't Rain All the Time podcast, episode 76, a show where we talk about movies and TV and comics and Tintin and Funboy and T-Bird and all the other things that scratch your nerdy itch. We're coming to you live from Young Junk HQ, a bomb-ass podcast production space in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Do I have to say Young Junk because I'm Brian?
Yeah, go.
Young Junk. Young Junk.
It's kind of like a song.
Oh.
Like, Young Junk.
Are you Brian?
Yeah, I'm Brian today. Hi.
I'm your
Too high.
I'm your busted hits
much
true.
lower.
Much
Hi.
lower.
Yeah.
None, I can't even go that low that he goes. I'm your busted up host, JD of Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex, located at 4327 Main Street, Philadelphia, PA. A rad-ass comic shop which caters to the nerdy and nerd-adjacent individuals of all shapes, sizes, and genders. With me tonight to talk is Brian,
Hey.
Alice, and Noel.
Brian.
Also in the booth is our trusty producer, Brian.
Speaking of, Brian gets married on Saturday. That's why he can't be here tonight. Congratulations, Brian and Tamara.
Yay.
You guys are beautiful. You smell like roses, and we can't wait to celebrate. I'm going to go to this camera. Brian. What's up, brah?
Before we jump into the show, we want to shout out the FB, the Facebook group Omnibuds Cafe, a community obsessed with graphic novels, comic books, and manga. We're currently lucky enough to be their YouTubers of the month, and we happily welcome any new friends. So get on in here and sit on my lap.
Oh. I said, hey, new friends, and you're inviting people to sit on your lap. Nice.
Listen, I'm welcoming.
All shapes and sizes.
He does that when he meets people.
Yeah. I make everybody who comes to the shop sit on my lap. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you know when we go live and add new content. We also have an email, and if that's a thing that you're into, you could email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com.
If you're into an electronic transfer of data via sentences and paragraphs that mean something to you.
Don't tug on Superman's cape is the name of the email. From Christopher Goodnight. Read this whenever. I'm going to read it now.
Right now.
You should totally skip those little intros he does because it's always, Chris, I love you, but it's so passive aggressive. It's hilarious. Like it really is hilarious.
Sorry, Randy. Randy's not on the
Well,
Randy's not on the show.
No, it's a general like, sorry, Randy, lover of all
I
things
see.
Superman.
Our previous co-host, Randy, our son, the voice of reason, rapper extraordinaire, is a big Superman fan. He's a super simp.
By just better or worse.
Sorry, Randy, but that suit reveal is atrocious. Setting aside the way it bunches and wrinkles, I don't need or want intricate designs woven or stitched into the blue of the suit. Those lines do nothing functionally and are only there for the aesthetic. Will I see the movie and hope it's better than that dog shit Man of Steel?
Ooh,
sure.
Shots fired.
Has it gotten off to a bad start? Yes. Saint Saucy Goodnight, sent from his iPhone. Hey, you in the front. You have a question?
Just so you know, there is typically no functional purpose for tactile materials.
Yeah.
There being a stitch or a seam usually just keeps it together, and it being smooth versus having
Bumpies?
a texture. It is just aesthetics.
Yeah.
It's always just aesthetics.
Just vibes.
So
I wonder if he means maybe in that pile of dog shit Man of Steel, like a lot of the suit aesthetic is supposed to be Kryptonian in nature.
is this.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Why not? Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
that's true. It could be.
Yeah, so there's like the Man of Steel suit, also the Superman Return suit, hella over designed, and we just all forgot about it.
Oh no, he's got little supers on his boots.
Little supers on the boots, and like the texture.
He's got a super on his belt.
and even Henry Cavill, rip as shit. He still has like really weird airbrush styrofoam
Abs?
muscles on his suit.
Unnecessary.
So all of that shit's unnecessary. It's just about how it looks in the movie. That's all that matters.
What is your favorite Superman suit?
I think they're all kind of sucky.
No. Every
bit.
single one?
I mean, everyone's gonna say Christopher Reeve just because it's the first one we saw, and that's comforting.
I'm gonna go with Brendan Routh's Kingdom Come outfit from The Crisis.
I actually pretty much hate it.
Whoa!
Yeah, I think.
Tell me more.
I think the symbol is too big, and I think that suit doesn't like the idea of the suit is great, and then his like gray temple's awesome. I hate the large collar on all the Superman suits. Oh. The fact that they're wearing like just like a fucking tank top, but sleeves just
Okay.
I just never liked it. And then that logo is oddly angular and like really wide.
Yeah.
The way they put it on him.
Yeah.
Like he made it work, but is it my favorite? No.
Okay.
I think it's pretty.
So you
I
don't
think
like any
it's
of
fucking
them?
terrible.
It's got to be one you like.
I liked the idea of the Hoechlin one. The Hoechlin? Taylor Hoechlin?
Sure.
Tyler Hoechlin?
The CW.
The first version of it was weird with like toggles, which I didn't love, but I was okay with it. And then the second version was like a little bit more, he looked good in it, but then they like over designed it again and it just looked like airbrushed muscles.
Yeah.
Like he was wearing styrofoam. So I don't know. I don't think there's ever been a good Superman suit that I really,
Fair
I
enough.
think they're all cool, but like, what's your favorite? I mean, I'm down for a redesign of all of them.
Okay.
I like Christopher Reeves.
Christopher Reeve.
I have I actually have a funny story. So my first action figure was actually like a Superman like figure, like Christopher Reeves.
That's
and it's
awesome.
Because my older brother Brian had a Superman action figure, and I loved to play with it. And I was like 2 years old, and my parents asked me what I wanted for Christmas that year, and I couldn't say Superman. So my parents are like, Alice, what do you want for Christmas? And I go, I want a man for Christmas.
Hang on.
And they're like, I'm sorry. And my brother had to like translate. He's 4. He's like, she calls him the man. This is who she wants.
I want a man. And then she threw over the table.
Yeah.
That's
And then
still
took a giant bite of jerky. Let's go. I want a man.
I still have that toy, and it's still a joke in my family.
Aw,
Whenever any Superman thing is on, they're like, Alice, there's your man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
I like, as long as the suit, whoever has the suit on, and whether I like it or not, if it is, if there's like a story reason for it to look how it does, I'm totally fine. So like the Reeve one, isn't that supposed to be made by his mom?
Yeah.
That's why it looks like it looks. It's great. Love it. Awesome. The Cavill one is actual like Kryptonian.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. If this one is Kryptonian battle suits or flight suits, cool. Like just make it aesthetically a part of the movie. I don't care.
I'm holding off my judgment until I see it standing up.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the whole suit yet.
Dude, every time somebody does this, no matter whether they're paying lycra or leather, it
Wrinkles. That's how fabric
ripples.
works.
Yeah, like so my Superman never leans down.
Yeah. In the chat, Costa says, Brian looks different today.
Hello.
You know what?
I'm trying to do my
He's
best Brian impression. I can't go any lower.
wearing new lipstick. It's like
Yeah,
dark lipstick.
it's the lipstick.
Yeah.
He grew his hair.
Today.
And Vicious Marshmallow says, Kingdom Come is my favorite. So,
The comic Kingdom Come suit is actually one of my favorites. I love it. I thought we were only talking about live action
that may
actors.
be what they're talking about. Is
Vicious Marshmallow, if you mean actual Brandon Routh in the suit, I'm not a giant fan. But the actual Kingdom Come suit, dope as hell.
Did you ever see speaking of your favorite, the Christopher Reeve one, did you ever see when he was trying to get the role?
No,
No.
maybe,
The word.
probably.
Audition.
Auditioning. He had huge pit stains.
No.
It's so cute. There's pictures of him and he's just dark blue. It's so cute.
Oh, you know what? Actually, my favorite Superman suit is Nicolas Cage's.
You piece of shit.
And not the Superman one, the reborn Superman one with like the lights in it and shit.
I hate that. Vicious says, and also the animated Superman.
That is a great suit.
Oh, yeah.
I love the idea of it. It's just
My favorite, I guess if we're going with drawings, my favorite is the John Byrne. There's just something about the way he drew that suit. Love it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a hater. I care more about the characterization and the story than I do this. So like I'm not married to any of the suits.
Yeah.
I don't think that it has to look like this or look like that because I just want a good movie. So I don't mean to say that I hate all Superman suits. I don't care enough
You
about
care
it.
more about the
I
performance.
care more about
and the
Clark
characterization.
And, exactly. I don't give a shit about the suits.
Yeah. So that was the intro, and I think we nailed it. The next part of the show is wherein I ask my friends, Noel and Brian, what have you been up to this week, huh? And I'm going to start with me. Hey, JD, what you been up with this week, huh? And
Farts.
I'm going to answer it. And it's going to be Shogun on FX on Hulu. Holy cats! Has anyone watched Shogun?
Not a stitch of it.
So
Tell me all about it.
Shogun
And the
is based on a novel
By Sapphire.
So there was a novel originally, and then there was a mini series in the 80s,
70s.
70s, and
1975 novel.
now they have redone it. and it is just absolutely wonderful. It gave me emotions, which I love. I love having some emotions. When a mysterious European ship is found marooned in a nearby fishing village, Lord Yoshi Toranaga discovers secrets that could tip the scales of power and devastate his enemies. Starring Cosmo Jarvis, Anna Sawai, and Tadanobu Asano. Based on the novel Push by Sapphire. I don't know what that question means.
It's a joke. I thought the joke was funny. Thank you, Vicious.
Oh,
go on.
So yeah, this was awesome. I want to say it was maybe 10 episodes, and Sushan and I both loved it. And I liked it so much that I actually bought the novel. I'm reading that now. I'd like to be able to track down the original miniseries, a TV miniseries, and watch that.
It's not available?
I couldn't find it. All I could find was this one.
Huh.
But yeah, basically it's sort of like just political Game of Thronesian, but in Edo, Japan, or I guess pre-Edo Japan. And there was a leader, and he dies, and his son is supposed to take over, but his son is way too young so far. So they, instead of giving it to Toranaga doesn't want it because he's like, that's just going to make me a target, and I will be murdered immediately. So no thanks. I'll take care of your kid. And what we're going to do is we're going to create 5 of us. We're going to divvy it up into 5 parts. And so basically it is the machinations of these 5 folks who are all trying to take out the others so that they can become shogun. And so we're following Toranaga, who really doesn't want to be shogun. He really was just there for the previous shogun. And he wants to take care of this kid. And he's kind of the Ned Stark. He's the guy you follow, but you're like, don't know how this is going to go. And it's just awesome. And then John Blackthorne is, he sets sail from there, or to get there. And it's basically him trying to navigate his way through all of this politicizing and not get murdered.
Damn.
It was really, really good. I highly recommend it. Something happened, something happened to my favorite character, and I'm still recovering.
Aww.
So yeah, it's wonderful.
The original miniseries is 5 episodes, each of them being feature length.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's old school miniseries, man. It's like 4 or 5 nights, 2 hour, like TV movies.
A TV special event.
Yeah, like Roots and The Stand, how they used to do all that, where it was basically like prestige television, but it was in television movies. Yeah, 1980. I lost it.
I guarantee you this is bloodier than that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Gnarly.
But no, it is not officially streamable anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get a hold of it, but it's great. Has anybody out there watched the original Shogun miniseries from the 70s? If so, let me know how it was. But that's what I've been up to this week. I'm kind of sad that it's over. I was hoping for a second series because I was enjoying it so much. But then when I got to the end of season 1, I went, don't, just leave it alone. I'm happy where we are. It ends where the novel ends. And it's perfect. So that's what I've been up to this week. Huh? Alice, what have you been up to this week? Huh?
I have been reading a very interesting book called Necessary Death, What Horror Movies Teach Us About Navigating the Human Experience. It's a very long title, and I always forget it. But it's a really good book. It's by Chris Grosso and Preston Fassel. And each chapter, they focus on a different horror movie. I'm only 2 chapters in, but they focus on a different horror movie or horror like franchise. And they kind of break down why certain people are drawn to those movies. Like I have a generalized anxiety disorder. I still don't know why horror movies are like my go-to. Like this isn't a relaxing thing. Why do I enjoy it? Why does it make me relax? So they kind of get into like, well, like you can relate to certain characters in this way because of this. They kind of break it down like psychologically and sociologically, and it's really cool. And they each have their own little takes on it, and it's really fascinating. And then at the end of each chapter, which I think is cool too, they have like a little like self-care tip. Like there's like a page of like, hey, like if you're experiencing any of these things that we were talking about psychologically, you can do this to relax. And it's
awesome.
It's really cool. The first chapter was Nightmare on Elm Street, which I loved.
Yeah.
Second one was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was a very interesting. They got into like ego death and all like how we all wear our own masks, not made of human flesh, hopefully, but metaphorically. The next
potato.
Yeah, the next chapter I'm starting is focused on Pennywise from It, and I'm excited.
Clowns, baby.
When did this come out? Do we know? Is this a new book?
That I don't know. It was new. I forget who recommended it or how it popped up on my like Kindle You Might Like page,
Yeah.
but I found it and I've really been enjoying it. And it seems like a quick read. I've been reading it very quickly.
Yeah.
It came out October 31st, 2023. It's a new book.
Oh, very, very recent.
Necessary Death, What Horror Movies Teach Us About Navigating the Human Experience. Actually, yeah, 2023.
I am 100% going to read this.
It's really
It sounds
interesting.
good, yeah.
It's really cool.
I was trying to look it up. There's a podcast that's kind of like that.
Psychoanalysis?
Yes, I have heard of that and I want to listen to it. I haven't listened to it yet. Have you?
No, it's just advertised on one of the podcasts I do listen to all the time.
Halloweenies.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right?
that's how I heard
Love
about
the
it because I started
Halloweenies.
listening
Yeah.
to Halloweenies because you guys told me about it. And
Yeah.
I was trying to remember how I heard about
If you
it.
want an excellent podcast about digging into a very specific movie franchises by a bunch of guys who are incredibly negative about movies now, listen to Halloweenies. Yeah.
I listened to
Put
them.
that in there.
Oh yeah, no, because it does grind my
They're
gears a
very
little bit.
grumpy.
They're super grumpy. Like it's if anything, like if all you do is hate everything that's new, I find it kind of funny.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
did too.
oddly charming.
Yeah.
Like
He's
to
one
be-
of them is
to be
mad
that,
at,
to be that miserable.
Cineplexes. He's like mad at movie theaters that show more than like one movie at a time for some reason.
Yeah, like it was all ruined with Cineplexes because then movies had to be bigger and you couldn't just like discover something. I'm like, brah,
Yeah.
that ended in the 90s because like mass media.
Yeah.
It's just
So
like
he just hasn't enjoyed movies
telecommunications
since the
have
90s.
ruined your experience.
There is
I'm
a
so
little bit
sorry.
of old man, but they're also very knowledgeable.
Oh, yeah.
and
Oh,
fun to
I
listen
learned
to.
so much. I listened
Yeah.
to all the Scream episodes, I think, because I listened. You guys told me about it after we all saw Scream 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to their like Scream 6 episode, and then I went back and listened to all their other.
I'm being mean. They're very funny.
Yeah.
It was a very
love
fun
'em.
listen. I haven't listened to any of their other ones,
But
but
there
I
are a
wanna go
couple of
back.
times where I'm like, oh my god,
It's
guys.
it's groany. Like
Fuck.
I get that you don't like superhero movies. A lot of people don't. Just don't give it any more airspace, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fine. Everything's fine.
I had a question about Necessary Death.
Butts.
Which deaths are necessary?
Yeah. Oh no, it was just also being a horror fan for decades. I think we all have that sort of introspection of like,
Why do I?
what is it? What's wrong with me? Why
Yeah.
do I want to watch this?
And I actually will be a little vulnerable with everybody right now. I had an interesting experience since working in forensics. I went through some stuff at work, saw some things at work, definitely changed me as a person. And for a while, I couldn't watch horror movies because I would have like an actual like physical reaction where I'm like, there was one time, I think it was even just Coast and I tried to watch Stranger Things, the new season 4.
I love it.
And so do I. It took me forever to get through though, because the opening of that first episode is brutal.
Oh yeah.
And like we started
Girl on the
it.
street.
We started it. I don't remember. Somehow I ended up on the floor, just like curled up, and Costa was like around me. He's like, "Okay, we're gonna turn this off now."
Wow.
I've gotten help. I'm good.
Good,
Gone to
good.
counselors. On
Nice.
medicine now and doing
Awesome.
great. But actually, the first horror movie that I watched in a very long time was Scream 6
Oh.
with you guys. Yeah, and I was so nervous to go see it because I was like, "Oh my god."
Is that the one we saw in 4DX?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, like you know
I
what?
was like,
It's been
if
a
I have
while.
a panic attack,
Let's go
Yeah.
hard.
right
Like-
now it's gonna be, and that was like the first time we all hung out. So I was like, if I have a panic attack right now, it's gonna be
my face
so
is going to be so red. Yeah.
embarrassed if I have to
That's
like
funny.
leave the theater. But I ended up having
weird
such a great time,
Oh yeah.
and I think they get into that too. Is part of what we like about horror movies is like seeing it with other people.
Yeah,
and like,
yeah.
like, oh my god, that was
Community.
ridiculous. Did you just
Yeah.
see that? And I remember one of the things. Like the movie first started, and I was like a little nervous that I was going to freak out when stuff started moving, like the seats.
Mm-hmm.
But the seats like jolted forward, and like Noel and I both just started laughing.
Yeah.
We're like, "This is ridiculous!"
Yeah, it was,
like,
I'm gonna be vulnerable now. Well, one of my favorite memories with my father had nothing to do with horror movies. Is roller coasters.
Yeah.
So we would always do roller coasters together because my mom and sister hated them. He had this thing where when he was nervous, he started giggling, like clockwork. Have you ever been on a roller coaster before?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I used to love them.
Used to?
I just haven't been there in a while.
I know. Me neither. I was thinking about it. Let's go to Six Flags.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in.
My wife can hold our purses because
Nice.
she hates roller coasters.
oh,
Yeah.
so do I. I'll come and keep Sam company.
Yeah, you guys can hang out while we stand
I
in
get
line
very
and get sick.
Yeah.
He would always when it's clicking up, like up. He would always start to go, ooh, ooh, here we go, and then just start cackling.
Aw.
So when
That's cute.
I have a laugh that is cackly. When the seats hit us the first time, I had to just like
It's true. Yeah.
Like it was so obnoxious.
Yeah.
It was.
That I just could not. I
remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and we had so much fun, and I was like,
awesome.
"Oh, cool! I can still go and enjoy horror movies and like have
First and best
'cause-
experience in 40X.
yeah, same." And I just remember when I like for a while when I was having trouble watching horror movies, I was like, "This is like my thing." I was like, "What am I gonna do now if I can't do
Dude.
this?"
So,
And
since we're being vulnerable, I had
Sorry, I got us all
had
emotional.
PTSD related to a series of things, and started having intrusive thoughts just out of nowhere. And so I too was like, I'm just not gonna watch any more horror movies. I just couldn't. I was just too nervous, I guess, or something. And anything to do with like kids, I couldn't do it. So yeah, I also went through that same thing where I'm like, well, now what?
yeah, I'm like, I
can't
love
watch-
this for so
Who am
long.
I if
Yeah.
not this?
Like, I guess I'll watch Steven Universe, but like, I really want to watch these other movies.
Lame.
And then it did not help that eventually, once I went back and was much better now, I watched Speak No Evil.
Oh Jesus.
So after we talked about it, because they have the new one.
Did you
coming
watch
out,
it?
Yeah.
I didn't watch it because I have similar triggers.
Yeah.
Look it up.
Yeah. Don't know if I'll be seeing that one. I might skip that one.
Yeah.
Interesting exploration on how far people will go to be polite.
Yeah.
It's
It's an interesting movie.
I was gonna say it seems very interesting.
Yeah.
Just don't know if I can personally do it.
I 100%
good.
understand.
But yeah.
good.
All right. Noel,
Yeah.
I have a question for you, and that is, what have you been up to this week?
So I went to the movies. I went and saw Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Yes, those are multiple prepositions in one title.
Good, because I was going to ask, was that multiple?
It's
Okay.
multiple prepositions, lots of ofs.
I honestly thought it was a typo on the screen for a
this
minute. I
is-
was like, wait.
This is part 4, but also part 10 of an ongoing set of movies that have spanned 50 years.
Oh, okay.
Are we ready for this?
I'm ready.
55
I'm
years.
so
Wait,
ready.
1968. 50. 100
Math.
years. 100 years.
Yeah, a century.
Quick math. Yeah.
Guy math.
The
100 years.
1900s.
I'm leveling or rounding up. So I went and saw this movie. I loved the last 3.
Yeah.
It was which were prequels to the original 5. Which also had prequels inside the original 5. Yeah.
So
okay.
these are actually connected?
Maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought it was just
Who
like a
knows?
reboot and they're starting from the prequel era.
They're like every single one ends with every single one of these movies ends with what could have been just an insert shot of them looking up and seeing a spaceship or like a shuttle falling.
Okay.
Like they always end in an ambiguous enough way to be like, and then 20 years later, Charlton Heston showed up.
Right,
Like
yeah.
they all just kind of have that feel. The first one was Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and then War of the Planet of the Apes. And this is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This movie takes place many generations later. So like 200 to 300 years after the last one. So you could just jump into it without knowing anything, and or it's a continuation. Solid movie.
And this is the first time there's actually a Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, I guess so.
The first
Sure.
ones were like still human.
Well, they
but
were-
with a group of apes.
They were wildly diminished.
Similar
Yes.
to this
Now-
planet. We're
now-
humans with some apes.
That's true. Exactly.
This one set up so I think it was the last one that set up the idea that the virus itself, the simian flu, was also affecting cognitive abilities for humans. So now we're talking 200 or 300 years later. There are no humans that talk anymore. There are no they just like roam in herds.
Sure. That's neat.
But maybe there's still some left. Spoilers. Solid movie, a little boring, little YA-ish. Like your main antagonist is a young ape named Noah who doesn't feel like he's worth his father's time and has to go on a journey, and the plot happens to him.
Does King
It's
Kong show up and swing him around and
No.
beat other apes with him? With him?
No.
Damn it!
He was Zuko.
My favorite part of that
Scar
movie.
Kings,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that dude.
It's very much, and when I say YA, I mean like the plot tropes of a YA book of like this young boy who isn't sure of himself yet, has the world thrust upon him, and he has to find his courage, and the plot just happens around him.
Is he
right?
the chosen one?
By
the
end
power
of
of friendship. saved
by
the day.
both of you are correct. By the end of the movie,
I read a lot of
he's
YA.
able to find himself and
Yeah.
and do the thing.
Okay.
So it's a
for
cute
him.
movie. It's great, but more so than the movie. This is my camera. Let's go to this. I gotta.
Does it grind your
How are
gears?
your gears?
They're ground down. So the movie theater is church. The movie theater is church.
Yeah,
It is.
I agree.
It is a.
More so than church.
It is a. I mean, it's church, mosque, temple. It's a place to be silent in meditation and worship what's happening. Like you are just there to experience something. It's also not cheap.
It's true.
Okay. So I went and saw this movie at 2:30 in the afternoon on a weekday. In a 300 seat auditorium, there were 9 other people. That's 10 of us.
Sounds great so far.
3 cell phone rings.
Oh.
Some dummy talking about my popcorn.
What?
Yeah, it was very weird. So I have a refillable popcorn bucket. I went to
I see.
I went to the front to get it refilled. The person behind me starts engaging me in conversation about what's that? How's that? Ugh.
During the movie?
No, at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
When they finally came in, they were loudly talking to their parents about this great deal. And there were so few people in the auditorium that I was like, this bitch better not look up at me and try and talk to me about my popcorn bucket during this movie.
Yeah.
Because she was just wildly talking. But okay, anyway, 2 rows behind me, people were talking the whole movie. Literally every time there was a silent scene, you'd start talking. Cell phones going off. The movie also started 40 minutes late. You fired Regal, Cinemark, AMC. You straight up fired all your projectionists to have automated systems. Why the fuck did it start 25 minutes late? And then there were still 25 minutes of trailers. Like,
Oh.
yes.
The trailers didn't even start till
The
25 minutes
showtime was
after?
2:25.
Yeah.
The screen went on at 2:50.
Outta here.
The movie started at 3:05, 3:06.
Don't like that.
What the fuck, dude? Like, I'm so, my mental health is healed inside of a movie theater when the world is shed and it's just you experiencing a narrative from a brightly lit screen and no other distractions. Shape the fuck up. That goes for the theaters as well as the people who spend their hard-earned money to go to the theater.
Yep.
So please, for the love of Christ, if you think it's your living room, stay in your fucking living room. Thank you. Have a good one. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm so tired of it. Like, I love the movie so much.
Yeah, man.
I go at off times to avoid that.
Yep.
Not to invite it.
Yeah.
Was it when we went to see Thanksgiving that there was like a group of people in front of us taking selfies and like
Yeah.
their phone lights were like directed towards us and we're like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
And also too, the world is weird. So I when I was 25, I used to like actually either stand up or say something. Or my favorite was if somebody is like within eye shot doing something, I literally would awkwardly like and just stare at them, stare at them with no words. Like, yeah. Good. And then they put it away. Like that was enough. But now I don't know if somebody's going to stab me in the face.
Yeah.
So I can't even do that. I can't even ask you to please stop.
Yep.
Fucking.
Now you can.
I told you about the time that I read someone's text to him.
Yeah. That's right.
There was a kid in front of me and he was texting the whole movie with the screen up as bright as the goddamn sun. And so I leaned forward after like an hour of this and I said, she wants to know what time you'll be home. And then he was like, oh, sorry. And he like put it away.
Also, bring the phone screen light down. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's still brighter than everything else in the auditorium. Yeah. Go away.
We talked about this last week with the guys, the Fall Guys.
Oh yeah. And
Where he's like,
I did
put it
get
under your jacket and text like this. Don't even do that.
I
Just
got
go
yelled
out
at.
there.
I got yelled at in a movie theater once by another patron.
Yeah.
And it was annoying, but it was also mortifying. But then I got it. I understood.
Yeah.
It was like only 5 or 6 people in the auditorium. I was eating popcorn. He thought I was eating popcorn too loud.
Oh.
So he walked over to me, sat next to me, and loudly started eating his. Like to
It's so funny. He could have just
to
been
be
like,
a prick,
keep it down.
to be like performative prick to eat his popcorn really loud. And I just stopped and looked at him like, what?
Yeah.
And then he's like, how do you like that? Sounds great, doesn't it? And then he walked away. And it was like that rush of weirdness. Like I was in the schoolyard and some bully just yelled at me. I'm like, I don't know how to fucking respond to this.
Yeah.
So I'll eat quieter because I respect the space, but like, cool.
Yeah.
Totally off guard. But still, like, I ain't mad at that guy because he respected the space.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it sounds a lot like you leaning forward in your seat and staring at somebody until they shut up.
I mean, I didn't walk up to the guy and like sat with him. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't shake his face. Yeah.
Hold his face in your hand very gently. Just like here.
But the idea of like we all spend money to be here. This is special. This is a concert. This is like don't do that. Please don't do that. It's not your living room. Your living room probably sucks.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we're here to talk about some stuff, and one of those things is The Crow.
All of those things is
Everything is The Crow.
All of the things is The Crow.
It's Crow-based.
Yeah.
We are a Crow-based show.
Crow-centric.
Written and illustrated by James O'Barr. It's a limited 4-issue series from Caliber Comics. I'm going to hold it up. Oh, there you go.
I didn't bring mine.
Originally published February to May 1989. In December 1989 and to September 1990,
so left
O'Barr
out.
would publish subsequent chapters, A Christmas Story of Eric and Shelley, and a coda to the original series titled Death. James O'Barr, intensely cathartic story of Eric, Draven, who returns from the dead to avenge his and his fiance's murder at the hands of a street gang. So, Robert Monroe's in the chat. What's up,
thugs.
Cold Poppers? Brian's looking really cute today.
Thank you.
He's
the makeup.
He's ready for his wedding.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to do a deep voice.
I read.
Stop laughing.
Yeah.
Try harder.
I read The Crow back in the 90s. I believe probably after watching the film.
So 30 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, shut up. Yes. And I went out and got the original version of this, which doesn't have all the extra stuff and the scenes put back in.
Let's do context. May I ask?
That's the issue.
May I ask how old you were? Because I do think when this movie and when this kind of hits culturally, it does matter what stage in life you were. I was 12 and a half when the movie came out.
Yeah. I was born in 78 and this came out in 94. So I was 100 years old.
Guy math.
Based off of the math before, you're right.
Yeah.
Guy math,
Yeah.
100 years old.
Yeah, somewhere between 15 and 400.
I was whatever age is prime Crow age.
16.
Like high school, sitting in the dark of your room,
20 is
listening
98,
to albums.
16. You were 16.
Smoking cigarettes.
I did that this
No.
morning, 31.
Okay, yeah,
the
I'm
age.
that old.
It wasn't cigarettes, it was clothes.
Oh my
Close.
God, it was close. Holy shit.
Yeah. Fuck, dude, I know.
It was
I was
close.
gonna say that too. I was like, it was definitely close.
Wow. So
It's not that bad because they smell so good.
They do. And so I was the prime age for this. This book, I remember enjoying it quite a bit at the time. Going back and rereading it for tonight, the past couple of days, it very much is. It feels very much like a journey back to high school, and how dramatic and. I don't know what the word is. High school. I
Just
was
like
a teenager.
over dramatic.
Over dramatic.
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
I'll probably say this a couple of times tonight. Performatively dramatic.
Performatively dramatic.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's nobody knows.
That was me.
Now,
Cutting the
so
holes in
long.
my cardigans,
the
growing
thumb,
my hair,
the thumb
holes,
sweatshirts.
and
So-
wearing the nail polish, which I still wear.
to
Actually.
be very clear, this book explicitly comes from a place for James O'Barr who was going through grief.
Well, that's what I want
Yes.
to get to.
So
I
this
didn't
is
know
this is
that.
real
Yeah.
for him.
This,
Until I watched the docuseries
yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
that's kind of what I was leading to.
Yeah.
Is that what gives it a pass for me now is so much of the performative drama in the book. It all comes from trauma and a lived experience, and it almost feels like we had said this on the other podcast. Reading someone's diary, where they're just
They're
trying-
working through it.
They're working through it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 nights ago when I started reading this, because this is the first time I've ever read it.
Same.
Nice.
Air 5.
The first time I've ever read it, even though I was obsessed with the movie, it didn't extend to tracking down the book. I was reading someone's art therapy sessions.
Yes.
And so some context about this edition of the book. This is the special edition. So the original series was just 4 issues between February and May of 1989. And then there was 2 subsequent one-shots. This book is reorganized to incorporate those one-shots into the structure of the book, as well as some extra 2-page, 3-page kind of sequences that he also worked on at later dates, putting it in context of where it thematically happens. So the experience of that is a very 1980s comic in the style of like Eastman and Laird, early TMNT. But then it's whiplash juxtaposed with beautiful watercolors of just two people having a moment.
Yeah.
And it's jarring. I don't know if it works narratively, but knowing the context that this is basically him working through something, it gives it a dreamlike quality that is, for lack of a better word, forgivable. Like narratively, I think it's broken. It's not really very functional. It's just a straight line that has a bunch of like detours, but emotionally, it's very effective.
Yes.
Knowing the context changed it for me. So I started reading it yesterday.
Very Eastman.
I started reading it yesterday. I read on my lunch break at work, and I got like halfway through this. And then last night, Kosa and I watched the movie. I had already seen it. Kosa hadn't seen it, but we watched the movie. And then after the movie, I was like, oh, I'm going to watch the docuseries things Noah told me about. And they mentioned that James O'Barr was working through his own grief with this.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And then I finished it this morning, and it changed the way I was receiving the narrative. I was like, okay, I can see how this is somebody working through their own personal grief with this, especially the way it ends. And I was like, okay, I see what this is now.
What was your reaction before that?
I was enjoying it, but it felt a little over dramatic or like
very
formatively dramatic. And I had the thought, I was like, I would have loved this at 16.
Yeah,
I was like, I would have, because I've gone back and revisited things that I loved when I was 16. And I'm like, oh my God, I was so annoying. I was like,
Catcher in the Rye, dude.
Yeah.
I went back to go revisit that book, and I was like, fuck this kid.
dude,
This kid sucks.
I read,
That hit Dylan hard. Did you have a Holden face? Yeah.
Who didn't?
He's like, yep, absolutely. You know what? You know what I've
he
learned
pulls out a copy of Catcher in the Rye right now. He's like,
It's
I
all
carry it around.
dog-eared.
in my yeah. You mean this one, my pocket size? What I've learned in my 40s is that all 16-year-olds are big, cringy puddles of emotions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I knew that when I was 16, but just couldn't help it in some ways, but then also got annoyed with it in other ways, which I guess I'll talk about. Like the associations I make with both this movie and this book are, I can't separate myself from them because I was 12 and I was, we'll talk about when we get to the movie, but this comic I think is totally worth reading.
Yeah.
I was impressed. This being the first go, being so fucking vulnerable on the page.
Yeah.
There's a reason why this has endured.
It's a lot of emotion.
Even with its shagginess and it's aimless. It's pretty aimless. Like there's a really quick through line, but it's pretty aimless. And yeah.
I kind of like that though, knowing the context, because grief and like dealing with grief isn't linear. Like you're gonna be going all over. You're gonna have all types of feelings every which way. Like I don't know. I really liked it once I knew the context.
Yeah,
I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's
This
the way-
version too.
beautiful.
More so,
Yeah.
this version feels like the journey of grief. If I was only reading the story, it would feel less than. Just the comic part, the plot part, is just like, oh, revenge. Cool.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
But being interjected with a moment of them at Christmas, him proposing to her, these like beautiful memories that are interspersed in a completely different art style that kind of like basically interrupt the story.
Yeah.
That felt like a grief process, versus if it was just the 4 issues, I'd be like, okay, same plot. Cool.
Yeah.
Well done.
And
Yeah.
one thing I didn't really notice until reading it this time, compared to the movie, there's no foil. There's no thing for him to overcome. There's nobody fighting back. He goes through every villain like a hot knife through butter. He murders everybody, even more than we're responsible for what had happened to him and Shelley. He murders everybody.
Yeah.
And I was like, peace out, I'm done.
Yeah.
Which didn't really occur to me at the time because I had the movie in my head so much.
Yeah. The one thing at the end I will say though is he's talking to the crow, the actual crow, and he's like, well, like, what do I have to do now? And they're like, you have to forgive. And he's like, how can I forgive them? And they're like, no, you have to forgive yourself. I feel like
I love that.
that's what I was like, that's the big thing he has to overcome, I think, is learning how to forgive himself. Like he got his revenge on all these people that did horrible things to him and his fiance, but
that's
he
actually
still doesn't
something that
forgive
is
himself.
it's not really a part of the movie.
No.
No.
The self-introspection. There's a coda at the end of this book so they introduce a horse caught in wires, which is to signify his grief or just his shame, and then it's on fire, and it's like you're watching tragedy and you can't move, which he. Yes. Also, do we want to do straight up differences between the book and the movie?
Sure. Yeah.
There's so in the book, it's just 5 gang members. Period. They're nobodies. Top Dog, Tintin, Fun Boy, Tom Tom.
Skank.
Skank is not in the book.
Skank's not in the book.
Oh, isn't he?
Yeah, it's like Tom Tom. There's a lot of T's. It's like Tom Tom, T-Bird, Top Dog, Fun Boy, and Tintin.
Top Dollar.
Top Dollar.
Top
Sorry.
Dollar.
Top Dollar.
Not Top Dog, Top Dollar.
Yeah.
In the movie, Top Dollar is the main boss
that
controls all the gangs in Detroit, and these are just
And is also
Captains.
dating his sister.
half-sister.
Half sister.
His
Yeah, he's
sister,
very clear. It's his father's daughter.
sister girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blech.
I mean, it's biling. I wouldn't go bleh.
It's okay. Yeah. So pro incest. Got it. Cool.
We slowly edge away from dating. We're like, okay.
No thoughts left.
Gonna make a red tube joke. But
The way that the movie created context and motivation for the villains. The book doesn't exist. So the book is just mean people randomly being mean to other people, and like that's it's kind of tragedy. But for
wrong place, wrong time.
for a film narrative that doesn't really work, you have to have like a driving force, or at least you should have some sort of driving force that is more than just internal, external. So they created this whole backstory of squatters and tenements rights and building permits and evictions to make Shelley and Eric actual targets.
Yeah.
In this book, they're just changing a tire and fucked up people drive by and want to rape her.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is as straightforward as that. So the fact that there is no real like conclusion other than internally for him in this book makes sense. But for a movie, yeah, that probably wouldn't be as effective.
It's also kind of cool that in the movie they change it so that she has a little even more agency because she's the one who's been fighting the eviction.
Yep.
And
Also-
she's the reason they show up
She's the one that survives for hours.
for 30
Yes.
hours. That's
Yes.
true.
In the book, he gets shot in the head twice, is still cognizant
Yeah.
and watches the whole thing, and then is in the hospital. And they combine the two cops,
Yes.
the Ernie Hudson character,
Yeah.
Albrecht, and then the captain
something.
Hancock, something like that.
Yeah.
Hall, I don't know. They combine the two, and he basically shows up in his room to tell him like, you can't understand me or hear me because you're
Captain Hook.
Hook.
It's Captain Hook.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
But,
and he gives
uh,
him his card. Right?
But I want you to know I'm really sorry. Basically, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But I love that the movie did make that switch. It gave him it gave the Shelley character more agency and strength. It gave the cop character more of a plot point, like more of a purpose in the plot.
Yeah.
And it did turn the release of grief into the final boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the other? Oh, the stuff that we get with Sarah in the movie.
Oh, yes.
Who's not
Who's
Sherry.
Sherry.
Sherry in the book. Sarah in the movie, and Officer Albrecht. All of that stuff actually came after Brandon Lee passed because they had to fill some
Really?
stuff, so they focused on them, and that's where you get all those really sweet scenes of like hot dogs make you fart big time, and like
I was wondering when she came in because I was just wondering also. I thought she had like worked with Brandon Lee, and I was like, how did this like 12-year-old girl deal with this boss?
Yeah. Well, she
But
did.
she
was in the
did-
movie. She was in the movie.
She worked. So
shared
she had
scenes.
worked.
Yeah,
Okay,
she shared
so,
scenes with him.
Oh, that's
yeah,
awful.
they didn't just like bring her in.
I thought they just like
they
brought her
just
in later.
expanded
Okay.
her
They
relationship
expanded
with
her.
Officer Albrecht. Yeah.
Oh.
And I think the book suffers, especially compared to the movie. The stuff with Sherry in here, it just feels
it's just side quests.
It's so
Yeah.
quick, and I think there's supposed to be more of a connection between the two of them than I really feel the
Yeah.
book
Same.
deserves. Same thing with the
Question:
cop.
Sherry in the movie.
Sarah.
Sarah in the movie.
Yeah.
they added scenes with her and the police officer, Albrecht.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got it.
But they didn't change the plot. She was still friends with Shelley and Eric, and they did
Right.
share scenes together. Okay.
Yes.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
I was like, they didn't refilm that stuff.
No,
because
no.
she actually did
that's what I was
know
thinking
who he was when he says the thing and stuff.
Yeah.
It's basically just like, we need fill-in scenes, so we will have just purely character scenes with these two. Okay.
Like I think even maybe her showing up to the ambulance and him talking to her
inserts.
there,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
inserts. But like all of that stuff, I had no idea was just kind of put in there after the fact,
Man.
and it works so well.
That makes it better. So
I love their scenes.
my favorite run of Captain America is when he's dead.
Oh yes, Ed Brubaker.
Yes, because I have a theory or a story kind of like favor. Or I love it when you could define the importance of a character or thing by articulating the space it leaves.
Yeah.
So you get to know how great Captain America is as a person and a hero because of the void he leaves and how many people have to fill it.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're getting, because we only really have like maybe a total of 10, not even like maybe 5 minutes tops screen time of Eric before becoming the Crow.
Yeah.
If that much. Actually, it's probably like 3 minutes because it's all in snippets.
Yeah.
So you need those other characters who knew him or knew of him to fill in that space and kind of articulate the void
Yeah.
That they leave.
That they both leave. Yeah.
which is great. That's just good storytelling.
Yeah. But I'm sorry, we're still talking about the comic.
Yeah, we're still talking about the comic. It's great. Go get it.
Yeah, I loved
everyone recommends the comic.
it. Yeah.
It's a really specific read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a really specific purpose. It's more fascinating than it is enjoyable,
That's good.
There is
but
some,
worth reading.
There is some. I feel like we're doing it a kind of a disservice. There is some awesome comic booking in this graphic novel.
Yeah.
There are some splash pages. There are some action sequences. There are just little vignettes, bits of dialogue that they actually pull whole cloth from this for the movie.
Oh, yeah.
That I remember.
The Jesus Christ going to an innkeeper.
Oh my God, I love that joke.
All of the best parts of this book are translated almost whole cloth.
Yeah.
Like mother is the name of God on the lips of
Mother is the name for God on the lips and hearts of all children.
all of that is directly from this book. Is just like thrown on the screen. A lot of the strongest parts.
One of my favorite, I actually had to take a screenshot of it because I love it so much. And the drawing is so gnarly, which you're not going to see, that's on my phone. But basically, he's in the middle of a bloodbath that he's making. And so there's blood just dripping down his nose into his mouth. And he says, if anyone would like me to dial 911, please raise your hand.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yep.
what a gnarly thing to say while you're murdering a gang. It's just so cool. There is some really good comic booking in here. I can't believe that this is his first graphic novel.
Yes, I would
Look
100%
at that. Look at that
recommend.
fucking
It's
page.
beautiful.
God
Yeah.
damn.
It's
The way he
very well
draws
done.
muscles and arms and like the
Yeah.
torso. He used, I imagine he used a lot of reference, and I think it was Iggy Pop. He did a lot of Iggy Pop, who's sort of sinewy and real kind of gaunt, which is funny because Iggy Pop shows up in the sequel. But anyway, I just wanted to say that. Like, I felt like I was saying a lot about like how high school it is, but like there is some awesome stuff in this book.
Yeah. So there's a couple of
That's a beautiful page. Yeah.
my most favorite parts of the book were a lot of the silent sequences. So there's two sequences back to back where he's basically he's like getting ready for the final battle, and he is dancing in the empty apartment,
Yep.
kind of getting ready to set it on fire.
Yeah.
And the panel work and the motion between the panels.
Yep.
And then there's a couple of like juxtaposed shots of bullets, fire, picking up the cat. Like it's pure montage, but it's just done so incredibly well.
Yeah.
To really pay off like the giant splash page of him slow motion walking with a cat on his shoulder away from a burning building. Like it's very cinematic. This is all incredibly cinematic.
Another little touch that he puts in there is every time he murders one of the crew, he takes one of the spent casings and wraps it in his hair.
Oh,
Did you notice that?
no, I didn't, but that's great.
Isn't that cool? Takes a little souvenir, you know. So yeah, that's the graphic novel. Highly recommended if you're in the mood for it.
Now let's skip The Crow 1994 and let's talk directly about Crow City of Angels.
I want to talk about Crow Wicked Prayer.
with
I didn't see
from
any of
2005.
these.
Yeah.
We'll touch on the sequels, but let's talk about the movie. What did you guys think of
Crow,
the movie?
1994, directed by Alex Proyas, starring Brandon Lee, Ernie Hudson, Rochelle Davis, Michael Wincott. The night before his wedding, musician Eric Draven and his fiancée are brutally murdered by members of a violent inner city gang. On the anniversary of their death, Eric rises from the grave and assumes the gothic mantle of the Crow, a supernatural avenger. Tracking down the thugs responsible for the crimes and mercilessly murdering them, Eric eventually confronts head gangster Top Dollar to complete his macabre mission. Rotten Tomatoes gives it it's fresh with 85% and a 90% audience score.
Yep.
Do you think his mom named him Top Dollar?
Yeah. I think it's a family name.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like
Actually,
the
Mom and Dad
the
Dollar.
Dollar estate.
Yeah.
They named him Top.
Yeah.
The Dollar family is like
The Dollar family.
And his what's his sister's name?
Bottom dollar.
Bottom Dollar. Nice.
Half Dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're real patriarchal and misogynist.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Half Dollar over there. There's Top Dollar.
Robert Monroe Jr. says, I picked up The Crow in 1989 when I was 28.
You are very young.
Have you reread it, Robert? And if so, what did you think? So this movie was, in the same way that Batman 1989 was a milestone for me, The Crow was a milestone.
Yeah, let's do context. First time you saw it, and then the revisit. So like context, first time you saw it, how it affected you.
I walked out changed. I walked out in a trench coat with makeup on
That's
and
it's
an
so-
electrical wire wrapped around my wrists.
So annoying.
Yeah, I was one of those, man. I went as the Crow for at least 2 Halloweens in a row, and
I
around that
want
time.
pictures of that.
I know.
I wish I had pictures of that. Also, Dylan, we can't read the comments. Yeah, man, this movie was. I just watched it over and over and over again. I revisited it a lot. The soundtrack is still to this day one of my all-time favorite.
Oh, the soundtrack is
It's so baller.
very great.
Hot take. The soundtrack for Salvation's better. It's just the monitors overlapping. That's what he means. Yeah, great soundtrack. Record store day vinyl purchase 3 years ago.
Nice.
Yeah.
Same. I think I got it right.
Alice, when was the first time you saw this movie?
First time I saw this was September of 2023 when I had COVID and I was looking for movies to watch, and I watched it and I really enjoyed it. I did have a very high fever though, so I had to go and rewatch it this week just to make sure I remembered everything.
You know what? There's a part of me that probably thinks it was a better experience when you're in like a fever dream state.
It was really fun as a
Because-
fever dream. I definitely missed a chunk because there was like a part in the middle where I must have fallen asleep, and
Yeah,
I was like, I don't remember this. So yeah, I really enjoyed it both times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also, when I first saw it, my fever state, completely unaware that Brandon Lee died.
Oh,
I did not know that. So I was like, this is great. I'm going to look up the sequels. And I'm like, why is he not in the sequels? And I looked it up and I'm like, oh my God. And I think like when I recovered from COVID, I went to go see you and tell you that I finally watched it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, that's like common knowledge. I was like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
For reference, I was 1 when the movie came out.
Okay.
Sorry.
I saw this on opening night at Spring Hill Cinema Square, a 4-house auditorium in Spring Hill, Florida. I begged my dad to take me because no one else wanted to see this stupid movie. I was obsessed with movies.
Yeah.
Just movie making.
Yeah.
And it being a comic was like, oh, that's kind of cool, but I had no access to a comic. So it was really just kind of being obsessed with the story of this movie, the tragedy of this movie, and wanting to see how, like, I remember watching making of documentaries on cable about the digital trickery in the mid 90s to finish the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty big deal at
yeah,
the time.
it was-
we all
it was
knew about what
everywhere.
had happened before the movie came
And
out.
it's, you know, it's hard for me to separate the fascination with how it got made with the end product.
Yeah.
Because the movie is mythologized, whether it deserves it or not, because of the tragedy that surrounded it.
Right.
Not just real quick. Not only that tragedy, but there are like we've got a graphic. The source material stems from a tragedy, and then on the first day, an electrician, I believe, a crew member, backed up a truck into a live wire and caught on fire and had 2 second and third degree burns and lost both of his ears. So that's how they started making.
Yeah,
this movie.
it's just it completely mired in insanity. I don't know,
Yeah.
tragedy and insanity. So like it's. I adored it when I saw it, but I was more enamored with this guy Alex Proyas and the look of the movie and how they pulled shit off and just loved it. Everyone was clapping in the auditorium. It was awesome. It was a great movie experience.
Good. I love it.
Absolutely great movies. And then
No cell phone.
No cell phone, baby. I became obsessed with just all of it. I had the soundtrack on cassette. I just, I was a 13, 14-year-old just experiencing this in my little bubble. The shimmer faded real hard when I got to high school, and everyone was just performatively sad in the same kind of aesthetic, and I didn't understand it. I'm like, did you also have your girlfriend murdered? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, but now I know in hindsight, it's people that are just unable to articulate their feelings, and they glom on to some sort of piece of pop culture, maybe annoyingly, very difficult, very hard, and present it. But it does like hang on this movie a little bit for me. Like do you remember like those skits, the sketches on Saturday Night Live about was it Molly Shannon and Chris Kattan?
Yeah. The cheerleaders?
No, Molly Shannon and Chris Kattan, not Will Ferrell. They had a goth talk show.
No.
And the goth talk it was like them in their basement of their parents' house, and it was like coming to you live from Tampa, Florida. Like,
no,
that was a thing in Florida. People were just like, teenagers were just depressive, performatively so.
So there was like a big goth
It was
scene.
a thing. Yeah, just to be that was a thing, and it was just something that seemed so like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, I love the movie too. Yeah. But
to be fair, I think, there was a lot back at that. You had bands that were that way. You had The Cure.
It was
you had
a
Nine
whole
Inch
thing.
Nails. There was like a whole sub-genre of pop culture, in the same way that there's like punk culture.
It was
goth culture.
something that and to this day I still kind of reflexively feel arm's length when something from pop culture is like shot into the stratosphere with no usually with no like remembrance of what it is, or 14-year-old kids quoting Borat. I'm like, do you even know, or did you even see it and or understand that it's satire? You just like to say that. Like that's the kind of like vibe for 70% of those people.
It's it's the meme I always see from Narnia. It's like, don't cite your magic to me, witch. I was there when it was written.
A little bit like to me it almost like not to discredit those experiences, but to me it almost loses sight of how special this is when it becomes that much on like the equivalent of it being on lunchboxes kind of a thing. Like it was a weird kind of like wave of popularity that I felt almost like, but don't you guys get how well this is done like this? Don't you guys get how like
It's funny, I felt something similar
the movie?
when like punk songs that I would grow up would be like on L'Oreal commercials.
Yes.
I'm like, what? How did
it's not like everyone sells out. It's more like oh well, that defeats the intention. And it's hard to separate myself from that. So like I love goth kids. I know a lot of them, but it was just like not my scene. And I feel like some of them were there for like for the aesthetics as opposed to the art, right? The journey.
Were you able to separate yourself from that watching the movie this
time? Yes and no.
Okay.
I love the movie. It's a wonderful movie. The 4K transfer is beautiful. Like I even noticed things in the movie that I'd never noticed before, like the scar on his face. I found myself though more than halfway through thinking, would this movie be as culturally relevant if it wasn't for the tragedy?
Right.
Because the tragedy of his death was so intrinsically connected to the plot of the movie, to the impetus of the comic. Like it had me wondering what kind of movie star he'd be after this.
Yeah.
Because 3 months later, Speed came out. And like the idea of action heroes was completely changed in general, because up until then it was adult plus. It was like Harrison Ford, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sly Stallone, people that were like late 40s. in action movies. And then there was this like resurgence or this like new wave of cinematic heroes.
The Next Generation, yeah.
Yeah, and he was literally at the impetus of it and didn't continue. It had me thinking like, where would he be now? What would he be in? And then like on one hand it was that wondering, and on the other hand it was like, would this movie be as culturally pedestaled if it wasn't for the awfulness of him dying? And
It certainly
is
certainly
that worth
adds,
it?
right?
Yeah.
And I think
Right?
that's what helped maybe even. It wasn't a blockbuster, but it certainly made double what it
It got
what they
like
put
a
into
cult
it.
following.
But that's what. So I think a lot of us may have gone to go see it because it looked cool, but then also like, oh, how did they finish this movie with the
Right.
the lead guy?
Yeah.
And it's not like I knew. It's not like most of us knew who
James
Brandon Lee
O'Barr.
was at the time, other than it was like Bruce Lee's kid, and I guess he's been in some movies, some kung fu movies.
Yeah,
like in the same way like Cynthia Rothrock was.
Which I rented. I rented
you see-
the
I've never
previous
seen
summer. I rented. It was Showdown in Little Tokyo and Rapid Fire.
Yeah.
His only two other starring movies.
Yeah,
one
they
with Dolph
talked about that in
Lundgren.
the docuseries. Yeah.
Showdown in Little Tokyo was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
But Rapid Fire was really cool, and he did such cool like kung fu-y stuff in that
Yeah.
movie. It was fucking awesome. So like I even had that kind. This is now starting to sound like well, when I discovered it.
Yeah,
What is it the hipster thing? Like I liked it.
I liked it before it was cool. Yeah.
But no, I did have that kind of like film language of like, oh, this is Bruce Lee's son,
Yeah.
and he's so charismatic, and he's so great, and he's doing this comic book movie, and holy shit! And, But no, it all got swept under, like like the rug was pulled, and he died during filming.
Yeah. I just mentioned earlier, I had the interesting experience. The first time I watched this, I had no idea there was a tragedy. I had no idea there was any kind of tragedy associated with this movie. And I still very much enjoyed it.
Good. See?
And then I did watch it a little differently now, like knowing. I didn't know the thing until after with the electrician.
Yeah.
But I did know about Brandon Lee, and so it did change a little bit. Like it kind of made it a little eerie. Like, this was like the last thing he did. Like
It cost $23 million. It made 94 mil,
Nice.
just domestically.
Awesome.
So yeah, it was wildly profitable.
Talking about Brandon Lee,
Yeah.
and so I have never seen those movies, but he was charismatic as hell in this movie.
oh my
Yeah.
god.
He was
Here.
so. I would have loved to have seen what he was going to do next, because this was a wonderful performance. Everything that he has to do, I believe it. At no point am I like, nah, that line reading wasn't great. He was top to bottom just perfect in this movie. And I'm not even saying that because he's dead. Like, it's just
No,
it
he was great.
Such a great performance, and I love that he's this prankster. He's this cute little gremlin sometimes in this movie. I always cackle when he goes into the Gideon pawn shop, and all of a sudden he jumps up, disappears, swings down from the rafters, and goes, "Mr. Gideon, you're not paying attention." Whack. He's so fun in this movie. The comedy all works. The action works. The violence works. Like he just nails it. I love him in this.
there's a it's like a chaotic charisma. You get to see what he was like before in flashbacks, and there's just like a warm nature to him, but like the undead version of him is very.
It's a little insane at times.
It's
Like
charismatic, but there's definitely pain.
Yeah.
There's sadness, but there's also like chaos.
Yeah.
Like he just wants to be as chaotic as humanly possible.
when he puts the gasoline all over the pawn shop
Yeah.
and then loads the gun with
That's my favorite sequence.
with the
with the
rings.
favorite sequence in the
Oh,
entire
do you smell
movie.
gasoline?
Yeah.
And I remember
on me.
I remember that. I remember that in the theater, the forced perspective shot.
Oh,
of
So
man.
you actually see the rings.
the rings coming at you from the pop of fire. When we were watching it 2 nights ago, I'm the worst person to watch movies with, especially movies that I've already seen. My wife will attest to you, because when it's something that I truly admire, I'll be like,
Yeah.
check that. Wait, no, it's coming up. No, stop looking at your phone.
Get off your phone.
Look at the
I
scene. Look, do you see what
do
he's doing? Do you
that.
see what he's doing? So he's putting the rings in the barrel. Just wait. He's putting the rings in the barrel. I know he's gonna shoot it, but just like wait, hold on. There it is. You could see the rings. You could see the rings, right? Like he shoots the rings out, and then it's so amazing.
So how they did that was they took the shot of him shooting the gun, and then they had the camera on the floor, and they created giant rings and dropped them towards the camera, and then they superimposed it. So good.
That's
it
sick.
wasn't him actually shooting a projectile. That was pretty dope.
Yeah.
But still, it's just
sick.
that's all those in-camera practical cool shit.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Alex,
so many. I like all the miniatures in this movie.
Oh yeah. Oh, so again, the 4K transfer is so cool because like the last time I saw it was on streaming a dozen years ago.
Yeah, I streamed it on Prime both times I watched it.
I had it on VHS. I saw it in the theater. Grainy as all holy fuck.
Yep.
The aesthetic of this movie is wet and dark.
Oh yeah.
So the graininess is just kind of gray, and it kind of works. When it's sharpened and darkened, the miniatures look like miniatures, but it's great.
Yeah,
like
okay.
it gives it a yes, I know intellectually this is supposed to be Detroit, but nope, this is a gothic horror movie set that nothing is real and everyone is a facsimile, and it's fucking awesome. It gives it a fable like feel.
I didn't know until I was researching the movie. The whole car chase sequence from up above and everything, all miniatures. I just thought it was a crane shot of cars.
I didn't know that.
I had no idea. There's so many miniatures in this movie. I had no, like obviously in the beginning where the crow's flying and you see not Gotham. Like, oh, clearly this is miniatures with a bunch of CG fire going on. But like there are times that I had no idea how they got it. And I just thought it was a real shot. And they were just, oh no, that was fake.
I want to talk about Alex Proyas.
Tell me.
For a hot second. Are you guys familiar with Alex Proyas' body of work?
No.
I know that he did a bunch of music videos.
That's how he got this job. He did a bunch of music videos for people like Sting and Nine Inch Nails, and like he did the Fincher route of getting into films, just doing a bunch of music videos, bona fides and getting. After this, he made Dark City.
Did you see that?
No.
You gotta watch Dark City.
Okay. Don't watch the trailer, just watch the movie.
Watch it.
Holy
It's
shit.
so good.
The director's cut's better, but whatever.
I saw that in the theaters.
Yeah. Actually, after this show's over, we'll watch the trailer together. Fuck it.
I was like, should I leave?
It's one of if anybody's ever heard of the movie Dark City, it's with Rufus Sewell.
I've heard of it.
Jennifer Connelly, Kiefer Sutherland, William Hurt. The trailer is no dialogue, dope music, weird images, and you're like, I don't know what the fuck's happening, but I want to see this.
I'm in.
He did The Knowing with what's his name? Oh, iRobot. He did iRobot.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
iRobot, and he does a movie like every 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Like it was The Crow, Dark City, iRobot, Knowing, which is with Nicolas Cage.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
Oh, I know what you're talking
The
about.
plane movie, and then it's like, is it angels or is it aliens? I don't know. It's a weird fucking
Nick Cage.
movie. and then in 2016 he was put in director jail for a movie called Gods of Egypt.
Oh my God. Wait, Costa and I.
Weirdest fucking movie. You watched it, right?
Yeah, we were somewhere for our anniversary one year, and we were just in the hotel, and like the movie was on. We're like, let's watch this movie, and we still quote it to this day because it was so ridiculous.
There is something so admirable about that terrible fucking movie.
Oh God, I hope Costa's still in the chat and can.
Okay.
So,
oh my God.
So, Gods of Egypt is a movie. It like takes Egyptian mythology and takes everything literally. Everything.
Yeah.
In this movie, the world is flat. The heaven is above you, hell is below you. Gods are 9 feet tall. Like it's like everything that was like in those scriptures and those stories, even like the weird fantastical stuff, they were like, nope, putting it in the movie.
It's a fact.
Yeah. Like my power's in my eyeball, and they stole my eyeball, and now I have to like. It's so fucking weird.
Like the Gremlins 2 skit from
basically, like let's just keep going.
Not only is it in the movie, but it's in the movie. Yeah,
it is the weirdest.
Raging
it is. It's like a terrible movie, but it's very pretty movie.
It is.
Like he's an excellent director.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous.
It's so fucking bad, but you're almost. It gets to a point where it's like, I kind of respect how bad this is.
Yeah.
Because there are no punches pulled.
Yeah.
It has the actor's name who
I
always forget, Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones.
Nicolaj.
That guy.
Oh, Jared Butler's in it. He's the baddie.
That's right.
I have no interest in seeing this movie. I've never-
Chadwick Boseman is in it.
Oh.
Chadwick Boseman.
Oh my God, I forgot
Elodie
he was
Young.
in it.
Nicolaj Coster-Winding.
That.
Neat.
Sam.
Gerald Butler. Gerald Butler plays Jamie Lannister's dad, I think.
I
Or
think you're
uncle,
right.
right?
It's relative, yeah.
Yeah.
It has been so long.
Jeffrey Rush, I think.
It was like 7 years ago. Coast and I went.
Terrible movie. Absolutely
Crow.
go see it. Everyone go see it. The Crow's great.
Yeah. Michael Wincott is amazing in this movie. I didn't know that was a wig.
Oh yeah.
The
This time I did.
Oh yeah, I didn't
This
know
time I
either.
did.
yeah.
Oh, because you saw it.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's just
Oh,
like,
you
I
could
think
just tell.
This time, it's wet and stiff right here, but then
Yeah.
like really.
Rest
close
I
in
there.
did.
So
There
I
was
like,
one shot when he's walking around the table, and I
Yeah,
was like,
same.
I was like,
That's when I
that
noticed
looks
it.
Off.
It's like, oh, it's a wig.
Also, so I think we've also just been spoiled as consumers in the 2020s. The action in this movie is not that great, but it is emotionally effective.
Oh, I love the action.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's all just bluster through because he's indestructible. There's
Yeah.
no.
Oh, I see what you
There's
mean.
no
I see what
choreography.
you
There's
mean.
no like camera angle
gotcha.
effectiveness. It's really just he's indestructible. He pushes through a crowd. He
Yeah.
pushes through bullets. He pushes through.
Yeah.
Like it's
I see
all
what you mean.
it's all blunt force. There is no finesse or balletic
choreography.
No, like we are kind of spoiled as
Yeah.
action viewers now. Even at the same time in other countries, they really had like action nailed down and choreography nailed down. This is not an action movie.
Mm-hmm.
There is action in it. There is violence and effectiveness, but like in regards to like, does it make my heart race? Like not because of the action.
Okay.
Yeah, it does, but not because of this gunfight. Like
Gotcha.
it's almost pedestrian, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
I-
Like even the one at the boardroom, just noise.
Yeah.
That's
But the
all-
way they shoot, I think the way that they light it
yeah.
makes it more engaging.
Yeah, it's all center lit from the top, and
Yeah.
everyone
And
moves
strobing.
out of shadows, which makes you kind of forgive the fact, like, why are they all taking turns?
Yeah.
Because they just back
It's
out.
like a
into
D&D
corners and come
session.
back.
It's like, all right,
Yeah.
who rolled the highest initiative?
I mean, kind of, yeah. Like, oh, he got a sword now. Roll ability. Go.
Roll ability. Yeah. I wish I knew about this movie when I was 10 and wandering into my emo-ness. I won't say phase because it wasn't a phase. I was listening to Evanescence while setting up a morgue the other day.
Yeah.
Nothing says
I
it
still
wasn't
love
a phase.
Evanescence.
So do I.
They're-
And
they're
I
so
saw them
good.
that's
live
getting
last year, my
into-
guy.
I want to see them.
Yeah, they were
Sorry,
great.
go ahead.
No, it's okay. Getting into that, when I was 10 and wandering into my emo-ness phase, I saw a music video by Evanescence called Bring Me to Life,
Yeah.
which was
from
in the music
From the
video.
Daredevil movie.
Which got me into the Daredevil movie
Yeah.
in 2003, which isn't good.
I still love it.
But I loved it when
Yeah.
I was 10. And then I was like, I wish I had this because this is what I wanted.
Oh, yeah.
This is what I wanted at 10.
You would
This
have
is,
eaten that up.
yeah, I would have eaten it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I made my dad take me to Tower Records so I could buy the Evanescence CD.
Yeah, man.
And I scared him.
I was at Target today and I saw the
I was
they did a
10.
re-release.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I almost bought it.
I've almost bought the record. There's a special edition record at the record shop. And every time I go, it's still there. And I'm like, next time I come, I'm going to buy it.
There's not two because I got it.
Oh, there's
Damn it.
one. There's one.
Yeah, there were two, but the
Oh my
25th
God.
anniversary
See?
re-release with the two like one. It's like a
All
pink
right.
cloud disc.
I'm going to have to go tomorrow and buy
We've
it.
spun it
Yeah,
multiple
yeah. I'm
times
going
in our
first.
house.
Oh, damn it. We're going to have to race.
I'm sure it's orderable, guys.
No.
At Main Street Music.
We got to fight
Oh,
for
yeah.
it. Yeah.
What else do we want to say about this movie?
Well, we want to talk about the sequels, man.
Do we? Okay.
Yep. In 1996, 2 years later, this movie is widely very profitable.
Yeah.
So Miramax in their infinite wisdom was like, sequel. But the main character died and had a... oh, wait. I want to talk about something I don't like in The Crow.
Oh, that's
Didn't like it then, don't like it now, don't like it even more now.
What is it?
The very end of the movie, he is laying at Shelley's grave.
yes.
It is very emotionally impactful. You could tell he's warm. It's cold out. There's like
The steam.
steam coming from him, and you are just like waiting for a hand to come to him. But instead, you see a far off shot of her walking towards him, and to me,
Walking.
that removes some of the emotional impact of him being pulled up or saved because you see her walking towards him. He doesn't. You as the audience get to see her walking towards him and you're like, oh, she's coming for him. Cool, I guess. The person you're following, your emotional doorway into this story is lost on the ground.
Yeah.
So if you would have cut out her walking towards him
Yeah.
and just
Had
the
her
hand
come
come
in.
and then you reveal her, because the next shot of her is
Is
him
he's-
a full frame
Yeah.
at him and his
Damn it.
reaction. It was such a terrible
He
emotional
needed the
beat.
shot of her in the nightgown.
Do it later. Show it only in the preview. But
Yeah.
like in the scene was just like, and it's and like where she's walking, it's not raining, but it's raining on him. It's just like, it's such a weird insert that feels like a producer note of like,
Wow.
let's see that dress, or
Yeah.
like watch her
Yeah.
walking. But it just does a disservice to the emotional impact
The wind's
of
blowing
that
her.
scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt like the whole movie was like of a tone. That 2 seconds of her walking looks like a music video that doesn't belong here.
Interesting.
And it takes away from that just like awesome emotional beat of him. He thinks he's alone. He doesn't even know how to die now.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
just laying at her grave. And if you only got that with the steam coming off him,
good.
how great would that have been?
God damn it.
Hated it then,
Now I
hate
hate
it more
the
now.
movie.
You know what? Fuck this movie.
This movie is shit.
0%.
glad he's dead.
Emotional and cultural relevance, garbage.
Everyone go watch
You're-
Gods of
I
Egypt.
felt bad
You know
saying
what-
that out
And-
loud.
You know what's better? Crow Wicked Prayer from 2005, starring David Boreanaz, Tara Reid, Dennis Hopper.
0% on Rotten.
What's his name?
Dylan, could you scroll down, please? So the Crow City of Angels, 1996. So what had happened? Tim Pote directed it. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 14% with a 40% audience score. I saw this one in theaters. I went dressed up before cosplay was even a word. I got dressed up in the full Crow
Say something
regalia.
nice about this movie.
I liked it at the time. I didn't love it at the time, but I walked out being like, that was weird. But also, there were some elements that I actually liked.
I loved that it wasn't a complete rehash of Eric Draven's story. It was his son.
Yes, I like
That
that.
was, like-
Everything else is a rehash of Eric Draven's story.
He's a son?
Well, yeah. Yeah, so the plot of this one is he's a mechanic with a son, and they get attacked, and the son gets killed,
okay,
and
okay.
the
Brown,
Crow
right?
brings him back.
Gotcha.
And older, this is like 20 years later,
Oh, I forget.
old Sherry is around.
Oh,
And
20
she-
years later from The Crow.
From the Crow. She recognizes what's happening with this guy, and she's like, I've seen this before, and it's kind of his like entry into the Sarah, sorry, not Sherry from the comics.
Sherry in the comic, yeah.
Sarah in the
Star-
movie.
yeah, she's played by Mia
So, like,
Kirshner, I believe.
Super cool first 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then very bad.
All the acting is
45 minutes
terrible.
after.
It is. Yeah, it's not great.
kinda
Apparently, the notes were The Crow did great. Give us another of that and make it just different enough so it's a sequel.
I remember the soundtrack being pretty solid.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Crow Salvation? With Kirsten Dunst and Eric Mabius.
I think I saw all of these at one point in my life.
Kirsten
I don't
Dunst?
remember them.
Yes, Kirsten Dunst is not the girlfriend that gets killed. She's the friend of the girlfriend that believes he didn't kill her. So the guy who is the Crow, these are all different characters, not like Eric Draven.
Yeah.
He's framed for his girlfriend's murder, gets electrocuted. The mask that they put on him when they electrocute him has like a slit here and then like here, so the markings are scars, which
That's
I thought was
kinda
kind of a
cool.
cool idea.
Cool
They're,
idea.
they're
That
That is
burns
cool.
that he puts makeup on.
I don't like that they do that at all. I don't like that they keep that same thing because in the comic books, of which there are many, many miniseries, they all have different makeup on. Yeah, Derek Draven has that because on their mirror he's got a porcelain clown
Yeah.
mask, and it comes from that. And so the rest of them are just like, well, we're just going to keep using that makeup because it's
So
recognizable.
for the fourth one, yes. For the second one, Sarah puts it on him because that's what she sees.
Yeah.
For the third one, they are scars.
Yeah.
So it's like he doesn't like put lipstick on the scars.
Yeah.
They're just like scars. For the fourth one, they just okay.
Yeah, with what's his name?
Edward Furlong.
Edward Furlong. Fuck. Pink Apocalypse says Dark City is good. Way late getting home from work. Never seen The Crow because I was so put off by the performative aesthetics of goth fans at the time.
Ditto, sorry.
Movies have crews of hundreds, if not thousands. Someone always gets hurt or killed. There is no curse. Lee died from an edema. Shit happens. Oh, Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
No.
Edema?
Are you talking about Bruce Lee or Brandon Lee?
What's an edema mean?
I don't know.
Fluid buildup.
That was Bruce Lee. He had his sweat glands removed.
Hot.
Yeah.
Costa said Gods of Egypt equals cinema gold, all caps.
It's gold.
Did you see all these movies?
I did. Crow Salvation, second best soundtrack in the entire series.
No kidding.
Super good. It's like right before everything was new metal.
Yeah.
So it's like good Rob Zombie,
Oh, okay.
good Crystal Method, good
Funny,
Filter.
White Zombie was supposed to be on the original Crow soundtrack, but they're like, nah.
Yeah, Nick. Oh wait, speaking of music, you know we've talked about this band a few times. Ice Nine Kills. They do like
Yeah.
horror movie songs. They have a Crow song.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta listen to it. Send it to me.
Yeah, I think it's called Grave Mistakes. Get it?
Nah.
Yeah.
The Rotten Tomato score for Crow City of Angels Part 2 is 14%. Audience score is 40%. Crow Salvation, a giant uptick. 18% Rotten Tomato score, 43% audience score.
Ooh.
So the better sequel,
Yeah.
technically.
There you go.
And Crow Wicked Prayer had a whopping 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, but 35% of the audience really liked it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for
Even
that
just
35%.
so my intention was to watch all of the movies and even try to dip into the TV show. There was a TV show.
That's right, with Mark Dacascos.
Yes. Who looks like he looks a lot like
He's Draven-y.
Brandon Lee.
Yeah.
He's Draven-y. He's so Draven-y. But I watched the trailers for all of these movies and I went, never mind. I
Did
don't
you-
think
okay,
I want to do this anymore.
How do you feel about... So I preface this with the fact that I try not to be precious really about anything.
Yeah.
Just be good. Don't care. How do you feel about the remake coming out at the end of the summer?
I was gonna ask about it.
I'm actually looking forward to it.
Well, you go first.
Me?
Yeah.
I have. Is there a trailer?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't watched the trailer
Oh.
yet. But
We're watching a couple trailers when we get
Yeah.
home.
let's do it. I do like Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's great.
And I thought so. There's a part in the comic where I think it's after he first kills someone, and he walks out of the apartment, and like an old lady sees him, and he's like, "Good night, ma'am." And
Yeah.
she says, "Oh, he's a 7-foot tall vampire-looking guy," and I'm like, "That's Bill Skarsgård."
Yeah,
Yeah.
He looks
Bill
like that.
Skarsgård
Yeah.
can do
Yeah,
that. I was like,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Well, are you?
She's-
I'm gonna
the
see it.
trailer.
I'm interested.
We're all gonna see it,
I also, yeah, I'm
sure.
interested.
Yeah.
He's Eric Draven, right? This isn't a new
Yes.
Crow.
Yes.
Okay.
That's my problem.
okay.
Where I'm
Eric
headed
Draven,
first.
Shelley Webster.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like we had just talked about, all of the Crows have been different characters with different circumstances, and I don't understand why. I'm not usually precious either with remakes. You and I have discussed this a lot. A lot of my favorite horror movies are remakes: The Thing, The Fly, etc. Even the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a good remake.
The first one.
Oh, with
the
Jessica
first
Biel?
Friday
Yeah,
the
that one's good.
13th is a good remake. There's a lot of good
I saw
remakes
that for
out
my
there.
16th birthday.
It's so fun.
My mom was mortified.
But
There's like a prolonged sex scene in that
there it
movie.
is.
Yeah.
She took me
Yeah.
and my friends, and she's like, "Oh my god,
your boobs are like so juicy, dude.
stupendous."
Stupendous.
Me and my friends
So
would say that
juicy.
your boobs are stupendous.
And it's an LSAT word.
So
it's like
I
4
don't-
syllables. That's pretty good.
I don't know why they feel the need to remake it when they could just make another Crow. I am a little bit precious about this one just because it is Brandon Lee's last performance, and he was so proud of it, and they went through all of this just to put it out because of how proud of it he was. And now they're just like, well, let's do that, but it'll be in the daytime more, and it'll look like it was shot out for a TikTok video. It doesn't.
I haven't seen the
look-
trailer,
No,
so
I don't agree with that, but go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Compared to this movie that they did, which has a lot of style and sort of this otherworldly aspect to it, and it looks like he belonged in that world. Like you see this guy walking around in those puddles and in that grime, and it feels in place. It just looks like he's walking around, and there's no zhuzh to it from what I can tell from the trailer. It's zhuzhless. But I'm going to go see it. I'm hoping it's good. But that's just where I'm at.
So you're an idiot. No, respectfully, fuck you. Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying, but I am hearing, well, I respect what you're saying, but I am hearing you superimposing your feelings about this on a different product altogether.
That's exactly what I did.
Yes.
Well, it's not a different product. It is a redo of a product that
Yes,
already exists.
but if you're approaching this as a comic book movie, everything that we've seen in the MCU and in DC is they are taking recognizable elements and doing something different for the screen.
Sure.
That is fine. I'm okay with that. I am not overly precious about this version of Eric Draven versus that version of Eric Draven. And it won't be like, well, in the book, they didn't actually meet in juvie. In this, they met in juvie. In the book, it was a year later, but in this one, it doesn't seem like it's a year later. Like, those are elements that I don't really care that much about so much as, do I believe that he is disastrously and beautifully in love with this woman? Do I believe that it was so strong that this would happen? Do I like, that's all that matters to me.
Sure.
And from the trailer, it aesthetically looks different, which I want. I don't want a rehash of this.
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes sense.
this.
Yeah.
I think this works.
Yeah.
The world looks more metropolitan, but it also, he does not look like a mime walking through it, and he looks more like Iggy Pop, like a large, muscular, sinewy-ish,
7 foot tall vampire.
kind of,
Yeah.
with tattoos all over his face.
Yeah.
Like he looks like Post Malone and Iggy Pop had a baby in a gutter. That's
Damn.
what he looks like.
Yeah.
Ripped to shit.
I think I wound up, when I first saw it, I wound up tweeting, all he needs is the word damaged.
It did
tattooed on
remind
his
me
face.
of Jared Leto Joker
Yeah, man.
a little bit.
I
The
am
last thing I
just
think
saw
they
the
need
picture.
to
I haven't
invoke
seen the trailer.
is Jared Leto's Joker.
I'm positively optimistic.
Good.
Because even though the director Rupert Sanders has only had 2 other movies,
What were they? Do you remember?
one was fun, one was awful. Ghost in the Shell
Oh.
I actually quite like that.
with Scarlett Johansson.
Johansson.
That was fine.
Yeah.
Michael Wincott was in that too. He's awesome everywhere.
Was he?
And Snow White and the Huntsman.
I think I saw
That was a solid action movie.
I did like Snow White and the Huntsman.
Aesthetically cool as all holy shit, right?
Yeah.
Like the magic mirror being sentient and like
Yeah.
a billowy cloak thing, and like it was. These were both wildly cool looking movies. So I'm hopeful that if this just is emotionally effective and cool to look at, it's a comic book movie. I'm happy. It will not change how I felt about this book, and it will not change how I feel about the original
Oh, no,
movie.
of course not.
So.
If anything, it may make me appreciate them more. Yeah. All right. What did you guys think of the Crow graphic novel or the Crow movies or the Crow TV show or the Crow remake that's coming up? Email us.
Or
at
just crows in general.
Or just crows.
Yeah. Are they
like
useful
birds.
or do they suck?
You like birds?
You tell us.
Do you like bird stuff?
I stole that from Costa.
Oh.
Costa wants to get a shirt that says I like bird stuff.
I like bird stuff.
He is all about.
He had me make him a shirt the other
Yeah.
day
Oh, I've seen it.
that said, here comes Mr. Slut.
That's my fiance.
Oh, it reminds me, speaking of J.O. Bar,
Look at that sick shirt.
it's a dope shirt. Email us at cultpopgo@gmail.com or tweet at us at cultpopgo. All of that other stuff. We love you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And
We'll see you next week. We're going to be talking about Mystery Men.
Mystery Men. Oh yeah, look back at another comic book movie with a lot of style.
This is like the summer. So to 2024, 1999 was a oddly pivotal year. So this whole summer, we're going to be talking about a lot of weird anniversaries.
Yes.
Including Mystery Men, 25 years ago.
Oh, God damn it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we'll talk at you later.
Bye.
Done. Nailed it. Cut.
Print it.
Yeah.
Are we watching trailers?